All right, welcome everyone. How you guys doing today? What's going on? Welcome to Planter Garden TV. Welcome, welcome. As we know, garden season is here. As we know, garden season is here. So we're gonna talk a lot about gardening. Today I'm gonna take this time out to talk a little about gardening. So if you're interested, you could tune in or you can go back and check the live when you have the time. But the topic today is growing what I can store easy. All right. Growing what I can store easy. Why do you want to grow things that you can store easy? Or why you don't want to grow any and everything? Right? Well, for me, you got to think about if there's a disaster. You got to think about if there's no electricity. You got to think about your refrigerator breakdown in the summer. You got to think about all these things. So if you as a person growing your own food, these are things you have to think about. Why you got to think about these stuff? Just in case. Just in case something go wrong. No, let's go this way, right? If you have a refrigerator and you have you have lettuce and you have cabbage, you have these kind of food, you have meat in your refrigerator, and your refrigerator go bad in the summer. Right? What you gonna do? You could lose all your food if you're not able to think fast and get things in place fast. You could lose all your food. You could lose all your meat. You could lose everything you purchase in your and have in your refrigerator. So you're growing a certain type of food, but you're not thinking about, okay, what if there's no electricity, or what if my refrigerator go bad and I don't have the money to fix it or to buy another one? No, your refrigerator is full of food that you grow. No, you stand the chance of losing all the food. So this is why I'm growing a certain type of food. The certain type of food I'm growing is food that can be stored for itself. It can be stored. Once you have them in a warm area, they will store for months. They will be there for months without having a refrigerator. So this is how I look at it. So this is the type of food, and I'm going to name the foods in a few minutes. This is the type of food I try to grow. So if there's a situation, if there's no electricity, if my refrigerator go bad, I don't have to worry because my food is stored. It's stored for itself. All you got to do, you make sure you check them from time to time. Make sure nothing goes up inside them or nothing is inside them. Make sure you check because you want to make sure that there's no bug messing with them. You want to make sure that There's no error in them spoil. These are things you got to check for. But they can survive. They can last 6 months and even more without you got to worry yourself. All right? So I'm going to name one for now, like pumpkin. Pumpkin can last a very long time. And no, pumpkin is not easy to grow. It's for the people who do not have the space. I know pumpkin gonna be very difficult for these kind of people. All right, so I'm gonna get to you in a minute. But pumpkin is one. This for people who have space and could let go the pumpkin and let the pumpkin run and do its thing. Pumpkin is a very easy food to store. I have pumpkin that I have is last October. And we in April, we in May. And I still have pumpkin from that harvest. And the pumpkin is in really good shape. Because I eat one last week, I cut it down, and it's beautiful inside. No spoil, nothing, and that's October, November, December, January, February, March. 5 months. 5 months. I have the pumpkin and they still in spoil, and I still have more pumpkin. So these are the type of food I want to grow. I want to grow food that can be stored without a refrigerator. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to grow food that can be stored in a refrigerator or need to be stored in a refrigerator. But my focus is going to be on food that can store without a refrigerator. So we talk about the pumpkin. Now we're going to go to the Edo plant. Edo, we have Dasheen, we have Tanya's, right? So the Edo, the Dasheen, and the Tanya, in other countries, they call them different names, but it's the same food. Some people call them Tara. In Jamaica, they call Edo cocoa. In other countries, they call Dasheen. You know, it had different names, but I know it's 3 of them. Tanya, Dasheen, Edo. Now, many people not gonna know that these food exists, but these are food that exist and people actually survive from these food. And if you do your own research, you will realize how much nutrition these food have inside them. You will understand how much nutrition these food load up of. But many people don't know of them. Now, the Edo, the Dasheen, and the Tanya, there's a plant that name elephant ears. I want to make this very clear. There's a plant that name elephant ear. I knows nothing about this plant. People plant them in their yard and, for, beautify their yard, make their yard look beautiful. But I don't know that if they're edible. That's elephant ears. No, if you don't know, like me, I know the difference by their leaves. I also know the difference by their roots. I know the difference of elephant ears. I know the difference of Dasheen, Tanya. I know the difference, but some people would not know the difference. So be mindful of that. Be mindful, because if you don't know, you could get sick. You could get sick. Someone could tell you, hey, this is Edos, and they give Dasheen, and they give you elephant ears. So be mindful. But what I'm speaking about Edo, Dasheen, and Tanya. I grow them every year. Now, with the Edo, Dashin, and Tanya, depending on the area you live in, they can be stored. They can be stored under the ground. You could leave them, you could harvest what you want, and you could leave the rest in the ground. Say, for instance, you live in like zone 8, zone 9, these areas, zone 7, zone 8, zone 9. You actually can leave them in the ground and harvest them when you feel like or when you want. Once your ground do not freeze, you could actually leave them in the ground during the winter if you're dealing with cold climate where you actually your ground freeze from time to time. You make sure you might have to harvest, because if the ground freeze, you're gonna lose them. If the temperature get to a freezing mark, you're gonna lose them. But if you don't get to the freezing mark, you could save your Edos, your Dashin, your Tanya in the ground. Also, you can harvest them and put them in a nice dry area, and they could store for 6 months and even more. The Edo, the Dashin, the Tanya. So what I'm saying is these are actually food that you can store without a refrigerator. So that's the pumpkin, that's the Edo, that's the Dashin, that's the Tanya. All these food you could store without using a refrigerator. And this is what this is my focus. Focus on things that can store without a refrigerator. So for instance, like I mentioned, there's no electricity, you ain't got to worry, you still could eat. There's your refrigerator go bad, you still could eat. Hey Tyler Coco, how you doing? What's up? Thank you for being here. What's going on? Yes. So guys, you have to think about these things. Even though you as a prepper, these are things you got to think about too. Because you grow. What I do, I grow food that can store itself, and I also grow food that can stay in the refrigerator. But if the refrigerator go bad, I still can eat. Now there's a lot of people into canning. So canning is something as well good for people to can the food. You see what I'm saying? So now, like for instance, you have another food named butternut squash. Butternut squash is another plant that can store for like a year without going in the refrigerator. So this is what I'm saying. I'm thinking about food that can store. No, we love okra, we love lettuce, we love collard greens, we love broccoli, we love all these type of food, right? We love them. And we should not stop growing them because of what I'm saying. We should continue grow them. There's cabbage. You should grow them. What people do these days, people can them. People can like cabbage. People can all different type of food, carrots, all different type of things people can to the so. As a gardener, as someone, always grow a lot of food. Yes, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Grow as much as you can. Yes. Now, when we look at what's going on, right? When we look at what's going on, we love collard greens, we love okra, we love tomatoes, we love all these type of food. But guess what? If you grow a lot of tomatoes you got to prepare to eat them, and you got to prepare to store them. Or some people also can them. So that's another way. If you decide to grow certain food, you can store them. So if you can them, there's a lot of videos out there showing you how to can food. So if you can in your food, then you don't need a refrigerator. So that's another way how you can store food. All right. So let me see. Have you? Oh, yes. I see the food prices now. Definitely. Yes, I see the food prices now. I see them. Yes. That's why I'm trying to grow as much as I can. Tyler, I'm trying to grow as much as I can because it's getting more expensive and more expensive every day. It's not to say there's food shortage. That's not what's going on. It's expensive. So now it's difficult for people to buy food. You remember years gone by, you could have buy you go in the supermarket with that $50 and you could have come out loaded. Your two hands full with food. Now $50 is only one bag you coming out in your hand. One bag. So time change. Time change. So now if you have the ability and you know how to hunt, okay. All right. Yes. Yeah. You see, this is the next thing, man. You see, the skills, these skills is important. And sometimes, man, we got to pass on these skills to the next generation. Because the way we see things going in the next 10 years, people not gonna be hunting, man. This new generation is not gonna be hunting and growing. They might even be growing food, and that's what's dangerous. So now we got to pass on the information. We surely got to pass on the information. So yes, guys, we love Edos. We love collard greens. We love okra. We love tomatoes. We love all these type of food, right? And nothing wrong with that. I love them too. But I'm thinking about food that can store for themselves. Because, sometimes when you grow so much food, sometimes it takes a lot. It takes a lot to can this food. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot. It really do. Let me see. This generation, all they care about is plain. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, man. That's true. Not many open to learning skills and trade. Not many at all. But this is what important. Skills and trade, able to survive, able to able to feed your family without depending on someone. That is a blessing. Able to feed your family without depending on anyone. Yes. So when we study the type of food there is study, and when you study the space you might have a small space. You might have a small space. So now you got to think about what you want to grow. If you have a big space, it's different. Once your space is small, you got to think about what you can grow and how much different plant. Like for instance, if you're growing in a container, you got to think about how much different plants you could grow in one container, which we call it companion planting. You see what I'm coming from? Companion planting. Companion planting is a great idea. They have another one where they call it Three Sisters. Yes, they call it Three Sisters. In the island, they call it Three Sisters. What is Three Sisters? Three Sisters is planting different crops between each other, and they all depend on each other. Now, for instance, Tree Sister is a crop that give me your tree plant that you could plant together, and they walk together. Now we have okra, we have corn, and we have beans. So we have okra, we have corns, and we have beans. Now the beans, you plant the beans between the okra and the corn, and the beans gonna be running up on the okra and the corn. So you see right there, just like that, you create a space that you could go three crop at the same time. Corn, okra, and beans. What type of beans you decide to go? You could plant the beans, and the beans run up, and the corn run up on the okra. So for the people who have small space, think about these things. Three Sisters. We also call it companion planting. The thing about companion planting, you have to study and get to know what works. What works best with each other. You got to think about what works best with each other. Because at the end of the day, you're looking for production. That's what you're looking for. You have a short growing season. You have no time to waste. You're looking for production, great harvest. So you got to figure out which plant I can plant together and still able to get harvest from them. Okay? Yeah, so the okra is a beautiful plant. Okra is a very rich plant. It's rich, it's good for the ladies, it's good for the men. All right? Now, okra, people can okra. Some people soak them in vinegar. As many ways you could put up okra. Some people freeze the okra. Hey, Fifi Urban Homestead, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Yes, some people freeze the okra. Some people can them. So as a gardener, prepping should be, let me see what you say. Drinking okra water is refreshing. All right, all right. You see what I'm talking about? Yes. When you talk about gardening, as a gardener, prepping should be one your main priority. Because growing is one thing, harvesting is the other. But when come on harvesting, and now you got to preserve the food. Now you got to save the food. Now you got to put up the food. Now you got to make sure you do this food right, that this food not gonna spoil. This food's gonna last for a long time. Because if you not do that, you could lose the food. Okay? So this is why canning is important. If you want to grow certain kind of food, canning is very important. There's other food that you don't have. You could store them in a dry nice warm area, and you ain't got to worry about them. But there's other food where canning is important. And now we get to understand now where, I mean, there's a lot of, listen, there's a lot of positive information out there that people actually showing you how to do these things. Canning, people showing you how to do it. So all you got to do, man, is if you never can before, follow people who can. You see what I'm saying? And learn how to can. Because growing the food is one thing. But if the food can be stored in a dry area for itself, then you will have to figure out how to store this food. I mean, you could store it in the refrigerator. That's okay. But you also got to think about in case anything happen, how am I gonna eat? Could you imagine your refrigerator go bad in the summer and you cannot get a refrigerator or you don't have the money to fix it, and it's loaded with food in the summer, with all your food that you plant, all your harvest that you harvest, you cut them up and you store them in the refrigerator, and then something like this happen, you lose everything. So we got to think, is either you're planning to can them or you think about growing food that could last. There, okay, let me see what Fifi say. I prefer to freeze my okra, canned one, my seed. Okay, all right, okay. In the, okay, all right, okay. Yes, guys, I'm on the phone and this word is so fine. I'm telling you, I'm covered. They is so fine. All right, well, sorry, guys, but I'm here with you guys. But this word is so fine, I'm telling you. But anyhow, is either you learn to can, is either you learn to free, is either you learn. Some people, okay, like for instance, a lot of people can, and then some people preserve with vinegar. Some people think use vinegar, boil, and deal with vinegar to preserve their stuff, like their peppers, like their okra, many different type of thing. Also, some people prefer freezing, some people can. You'll be surprised the type of thing people can. People can, and pickle, right. Right, pickle, yes, exactly. Yes, some people pickle. And these things is comes with gardening. These things come with prepping. You can't be growing food and don't know how to do these things because you're gonna lose your food. You can't store everything in one basket, right? If you store everything in one basket, like for instance, you harvest your whole garden and you cut up everything and you freeze everything. And in the summer, your refrigerator go bad or there's no electricity. Just like that, all that hard work you've done, you could lose your food just like that in a few days. So these are things you think about. If you're growing food, you should be a prepper. You should be knowing how to can, especially growing certain type of food, because when you talk about okras, when you talk about collard greens, when you talk about broccoli, when you talk about cauliflower, when you talk about these type of food, you have to able to do something with them because they cannot store for long without they are in a refrigerator. They cannot store for long. They got to get some kind of cold temperature to keep them. So if this is what you're growing, it makes sense you learn to prep, you learn to can, you learn to do what you got to do. Or otherwise, you still have options. What is your option? Squash, many different type of squash, pumpkin, many different type of pumpkin, and you also have ground food, where we call ground provision, root crop. What is root crop? Potato, potato is a root crop. And there, you see, let me tell you something. Many of these food that they call tropical food, why they might say tropical food, like the Edo, the Dashi, and the Tanya, why they might say tropical food is because they grow only in a certain time, a certain weather, right? But if you live in a cold climate, that does not mean you cannot grow them, because the span, you don't even need to start them indoors, depending on where you're living. Like the Edos, the Dashin, the Tanya, yam. Well, yam. If you're growing yam, you want to make sure you start that indoors. But like the Dashin, the Tanya, you could bring them out in the spring. Once they're able to get 6 months, yam take like 9 to a year to before you're able to harvest. Potato takes few months. Edos, Dashin, Tanya, this type of food takes 6 months. So if you're able to get 6 months, which is from March, April, say April, May, June, July, August, September, October, September. Once you could get 6 months in, you could plant these crops. So yes, they might be tropical, but if you could get 6 months of good weather, which is the spring, the summer, and the fall, you stand a chance of growing these type of food. And this type of food is very rich. This type of food, and what I like about these food, right? What I like about these food, you could do so many things with the food. You could steam them. You could cook them in soup. You could grind them, and you understand? You could dry them and make flour from them. It's so much you can do with them, and that's the good thing. You see, a lot of people don't really know about these food because they did not grow up on them. But trust me, if you only understand these food and know about these food and know how much you can do with these food, you will always grow them. I'm telling you. You will always grow them because you could the leaf. This is the next thing again. With the head or the dash in the Tanya, you could grow the leaf. You could eat the leaf. You could cook the leaf. But you got to make sure the young leaf, and you got to boil them for at least 45 minutes. So you cannot just go and eat them. But you could boil them, even the young stalk, and you could grow them. You could boil them, and just like how you do collard greens, you cook up the collard greens, and you could do it with many different things. Some people, like in the island, people love to thing it with okra. Yes, yes, some people like to do it with okra, and they call it kalalu in the island. They call it kalalu. So now you could eat the young leaf and you could eat the root. So Depending on how much you're growing at the same time. You could be harvesting the young leaf and them every couple days. You could go out and you only harvesting, let me see, okra and coconut. Yeah. Aha. Okra and coconut milk. Yes. And dashing leaf and edo leaf. And man, listen me. So it's so much you can do with these plants, but people don't really know about them. You could grow these and you could grow these food, right? You're feeding off the leaf all through the spring, all through the summer. Then in the fall, you stand a chance of harvesting the root. No, when you harvest the root, you could store them in a nice dry area and they store for themselves. No, you could cut them up, you could dry them, you could make your own liquor powder, you could cook them, you could steam them, you could boil them and mash them up like mashed potato. You could make porridge. Do you see how much you could do from these crop I'm talking about? And at the same time, able to store for themselves. Even the pumpkin. So much you could do with pumpkin, to pumpkin pie, pumpkin soup. You could bake the pumpkin, you could steam the pumpkin. All these type of food is food that people should actually be growing. But pumpkin, you only can grow pumpkin if you have space. So I'm not pushing about the pumpkin. No, you could grow all these crop I'm telling you about, you can grow them in containers. You could do your research. You have the Edos, you have the Dashin, you have the Tanya. This is 3 of them. You can grow these in containers. You have yam. You could grow yam in containers as well. You just got to start it like for the people who in cold climate, not living in tropical areas. The yam, you got to start them indoors. You got to start the yam indoors and you bring them out in the spring. No, when you bring them out in the spring, they're going to do their thing and you harvest them late down in the air. Maybe down in November, down inside there. So you start them indoors, maybe December, November, December. You bring them out in the spring and you allow them to go until, if you have a greenhouse, when the weather starts changing, you could take them and put them in your greenhouse for them to continue their journey. Because if you leave them outside, the cold, that frost, gonna mess them up, beat them real bad. So you don't want to do that. But yam is another plant that can store for itself. We're gonna cassava. Cassava. Right now I'm growing cassava. I grew cassava years ago. Right? I grew cassava years ago. But I know, shout out to Fifi Urban for sending me these cassava. And I'm growing them for the first time this year. So what I'm doing, I have one in container and I have the balance in the ground. So what I'm saying is, at least if the weather changes, I can take the one in the container and bring it, put it in, the greenhouse and let it continue its journey. If the others did not reach, them that I have outside did not reach to perfection, to that having, that's okay. I still have in the container. So it's me testing them out. The good thing about it, with cassava, you could root the cassava from the plant itself. Cassava does not regrow from its fruits like the edos. You could save Edos and plant them back in the ground, even the head of the Edos. Plant them back in the ground if you're not living in a freezing era, and they will come back in the spring. So these are crop you can grow. I gave you some crop. I'm gonna go over them again. But these are crop I gave you tonight that you can grow and you could feed your family without stressing. I'm telling you. Because most of them you could eat their leaf, and then when harvest time, their roots. Now cassava, you could do many things with cassava as well. You could grate the cassava. You could do, I remember people used, like you're making dumpling. Yes, yes. Like you're making dumpling, you know what I'm saying? And you put a little cassava inside the dumpling and knead it up with you know what I'm saying? And knead it up inside it. So cassava could do, then you could bake the cassava. You could make your own little cassava bread. The flat thin cassava bread. These are survival food, survival crops I'm giving you here. And all these crops I'm telling you about, you don't need a refrigerator to store anything. You just put them in a dry area and they will last right there for months. Yes, let me see. Cassava don't store on long as Edo. Okay. All right. So the cassava don't store as long as the Edo. Okay. Edo, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right at this moment here. Edos could store for a long time. Once you ain't allow them to get to a cold area, if they're able to get that coldness, they're gonna start shooting. They're gonna start to pushing out the top. But if you have them in a with the right temperature, they will last for a long time. Even that sheet, even most likely in the spring, trust me, they're gonna start to put some eye. Regardless, I'm telling you, they're gonna start put some eye. But okay, all right, it become right. Okay, right. Rasi. Okay, all right, okay. So where we get for cassava don't stay as long as the Edo. But at least it could store for a little period of time that without being in the refrigerator. It can last a little period. But the Edo and the yam, they will last for a long period of time. This is how I'm thinking. I'm thinking about growing more food that I don't need to store because I mean, when you're growing a lot of food, when you're really growing a lot of food, it's believe it or not, it's a lot of work. I mean, harvest time is the best time you could ever get. It's the best feelings in the world when you start harvesting. But when you start harvesting, it comes with a lot of work as well. You see? It comes with a lot of work because you have to figure out how am I storing these food. I can't just harvest them and put them down. I gotta store these food. Is either you decide to cut them up and put them in the refrigerator, or you decide for can, or you decide to prickle. Whatever you decide to do, but it's important to learn. You see, some people don't believe that you need to learn certain skill because they don't apply to them at the moment. Yes, thank you. Some people don't believe that they need certain skill unless they need it. So when they need it, that's when you see they get up and start running out. Okay, all right, I need for learn for do this. No, sometimes if you have these, sometimes you could learn things because they're gonna come in handy. If you get the opportunity to learn, why not? It's gonna come in handy one day. So you learn as much as you can today. So right now, you might feel like, nah, I don't really grow food like that, so I'm not even trying to prep. Well, guess what? I think it's a good idea to learn to prep. I think it's a good idea to make your own oil. I think it's a good this is a good idea to make your lotion. It's a good idea to make your oil for your hair, for your body. These are things you could do and how you could learn because people actually showing you how they're making it. So don't wait until the time comes when you need it to not running out there trying to figure out, oh my God, how am I doing this? The same thing with growing food. There's a lot of people putting out a lot of information out here. Good information too. There's a lot of people who, like I always say, there's a lot of people who in this because they're trying to share information because they understand the need of it. There's people who need it. So they show what they're doing. So somebody could learn a few things from them. Doesn't mean you got to do it exactly like them. But what you could do, you could learn and you could apply. Because while you're learning, while you're doing it, you're gonna learn your own. You're gonna learn your own skill as well. Because you're doing it, so you're gonna be learning. But there's people out there who pushing positive information and facts, which there's also people out there who just they're telling you a bunch of things, but you can't see no proof. They can't see no, you understand? So we as a people, we got to figure out where we want to do. You have to decide. That's you got to decide that. Who am I gonna follow? I'm gonna follow the people who sincere, who showing me the every. You got to decide that. I can't decide that for anybody. But I am open to learn. So I'm not gonna wait until I need a skill to try to learn about it. I'm gonna try to learn while the opportunity is around. While I have the opportunity, I will learn. And some people, there's a lot of people, and it can be difficult for some people because some people could learn from watching you. Some people could learn by just watching what you're doing, and they learn from that. Some people got to be hands on to able to learn. You see what I'm saying? Watching you, it cloud their mind. It's become confusing. But if they're doing it hands on, like they with you and they're doing it, they learn faster. So it's many ways people learn out here. It's many ways. People learn in different ways. You see what I'm saying? And believe it or not, we all have great information. We all have information to share. Believe it or not. Hey, Urban Garden Chronicles, how you doing? Thank you for being here. Yes, we all have something to share. We all are gifted. We all are talented. We all come with something to share, believe it or not. So don't ever doubt yourself and believe that you don't have something to share with others. You have. You have. The thing is, we can learn from each other, believe it or not. My thing is, as a person, I just, I try to show what I'm doing. I try to, yes, I try to show what I'm doing, and I try to show the progress of what I'm doing. I don't like to just come out and say, okay, all right, bam, and I just, oh, this is how you do it. But no proof, no progress, nothing. I love to show what I'm doing. I love to show you when I plant them. I love to show you while they're growing and what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? I like to do that because people want to learn. You see? People want to learn. There's people who want to learn. People out there willingly want to learn, but there's so much distraction. It's not easy. You understand? You see, let me explain this. I have a container garden series that I'm actually doing, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want people to understand you can grow healthy plants in containers. You can do it. You can do it. I show a video where the broccoli. Okay, I set some seed, right? This seed is actually 8 years old. This seed, I harvest this seed 8 years ago, right? 8 years ago. I sort of see them, these seed germinate so fast, I couldn't even believe. So when you understand, so when people say seed don't last, that's not true. No, I plant in containers and I plant in ground. I plant in clay soil and I plant in my garden. 3 different places I plant. The one in the container, so that already have an of ahead already. And the one in the clay soil is looking healthy and beautiful, but it ain't have no broccoli as yet. But the one in the container already have broccoli. So what I'm trying to say is you can grow healthy, big plants in containers as well. All I could say, remember the size of the container matter. That's all I can say. I also did a video again showing the people, because I like to show. I like to show that you could see and learn. So it make it easier for new gardeners. So for the new gardeners, instead of they got to go through all that testing and the situation, they could learn, they get a head start. No, I planted broccoli in a small container. I did it for a reason, because I know better. I know how big my broccoli plant them does get. So I know better. I plant the broccoli in a small container. The broccoli is big and healthy. But the only thing is, the root system is not big enough for the plant. Even though the plant is healthy, already start producing broccoli. But the root system is not big enough. When you tap it, it's shaky because the root system, the container was not big enough for the root to grow and spread and get strong, that it could balance the plant, hold up the plant. Because when these broccoli start producing, these broccoli does get heavy. And if the root system ain't big enough for balance this plant, when the broccoli produce, the plant gonna lean down to the ground. So I did that. I planted in this container just to show you will able to get harvest, but the root system, and the root system is important. No, this same plant I'm telling you about here, it's gonna produce, but it will not produce the way it should. Why is it not gonna produce? And I'm gonna be showing these things. And this is what I'm saying. I show. Why is it not gonna be producing as much as it should? Because of the root system. You see what I'm saying? That plant might only produce 1 or 2 head of broccoli, and that's it. Which the one in the ground might produce 4 or 5 head of broccoli. So the root system have a lot to do with the plant. Once the root able to grow, the plant able to grow and produce more. But if the root is not going anywhere, the plant ain't going anywhere either. While it grow, that's when it produce. When it spread the root and the root suck the nutrients, the mineral up, the plant grows. And while the plant grows, it produces more leaf and it produces more food. But if the plant is not growing, it's not going to be producing. Once it's not pushing roots, that means it's not growing. So because of that, container is small. Because the container is small, what's going to happen is that plant might only give me 1 broccoli. So yes, guys, I love to show what I'm doing. I love to, because there's people who want to learn, man, and there's people who trying. A lot of people is just about just get a content out there. And I mean, that's their way. But to me, I rather show and let people see the progress. So if you decide, all right, let me try this, that's cool, nothing wrong with that. Or you see somebody else do something, you want to try, you try and see what works for you. In gardening, you have to see what works for you. If you're growing something and you're not seeing no progress from it, you got to think about doing something different. You got to think about, what am I doing? Why this plant not? This is my 2nd year growing it and it's nothing. What am I doing? Maybe it need more sunlight. You got to think about these things, guys. So what are you growing, or what should you be growing? I wouldn't say what you should be growing. What I will say is, you got to know what you want to grow. You got to know what your family love. You got to know what you love. And that's what you grow. There's for small space people, there's companion planting, and there's another way, the companion. In other places like the island, they call it Three Sisters. I remember there's a show I did watch where they call it Three Sisters, where you could plant the okra, the corn, and beans. So the beans gonna run up on the okra and the corn. So that's 3 plants you have walking with each other. All right, let me see where Fifi Orban say. That's right. Is the time for an adjustment? Yes, definitely. It's about time for do something different. You're not doing something right. So yes, I agree with that. You make adjustment. But yes, it ain't as complicated as it seems. And you ain't got to go out and spend all that money to start a garden. Okay, so this is the next thing again. A lot of people get distracted by watching what other people doing and the price when they go to the store and they realize, my gosh, is this container is so expensive. Well, you gotta do what you gotta go after your means. No, it's not how expensive the container is. It's the size that matter, not the price. Because I guarantee you, you could have a container you pay $300 for. And I have an old container. And I guarantee you, in my old container, I might get more production than you in your $300 container. So it's not about the container and the price of the container. It's the size of the container that's matter. Okay? It's the size. So don't look at that. And don't look at people expensive containers. Walk with what you got. You could start with some 5-gallon bucket. Some 5-gallon bucket will help you out. Start with a few 5-gallon bucket. You know, let me tell you, you have some water barrel. You have water barrel, guys. You could buy a water barrel and you could cut it out nicely, put it on 2 blocks, fill it with dirt, and that's your raised bed right there. You see what I'm saying? You could grow a lot of food in a water barrel just like that. You do companion planting. You plant your herbs them. You see what I'm saying? You even could plant some cucumber and allow them to run down. Make a few like a steak. Listen to me. If you're creative, listen to me. All it takes is some creativity. And you'll be surprised what you can do in your liquor space and in your containers them. That you get that did not cause you an arm and a leg. All right. So what your focus is, not the price of the container, is the size. That's your focus. All right. So this is garden season. And I just want to say, man, shout out to all the gardeners, shout out to all the new gardeners, shout out to everyone who trying, shout out to all the people who really doing their best, even though they might find it the struggle, even though they might find, but they're still trying. Okay, I also got to say shout out to all the people in the Herb Garden Challenge. Shout out to you guys, man. It's a blessing to see you guys doing what you're doing. Just remember, guys, you only could win a prize if you follow the rules and you know all the rules. I'm not even going over the rules anymore. I've been promoting the rules. You know all the rules. You only could win a prize if you follow the rules. So if you know you don't follow the rules, understand. You only could win a prize if you follow the rules. Shout out to Variety of Aspects. Shout out to Fifi Urban Homestead and Lifestyle. Shout out to Jim Mama. I appreciate each and every one of you for donating to this challenge. If anyone else want to donate to this challenge, we will appreciate that. All right? So shout out to you guys. And guess what, man? It's boiling down. We actually in May. So we only have 4 more uploads. It's getting there. It's getting there. 4 more uploads. Just keep doing what you're doing. Remember to share this challenge. Remember to mention this challenge. Guys, you only could win if you follow the rules. All right? So I just want to say, let me see. Oh, yes. The countdown is near. It's happening. It's happening, guys. I'm telling you, the excitement part is getting very close. I'm telling you, you see when we in June, that's when it's gonna start get exciting because we're in June. By the time we hit June, the plants them supposed to look different. You see, the herbs them supposed to be growing and looking different. So that's when the excitement gonna come down, man. And guys, don't forget, drop seeds. Drops the seeds if you get in trouble. Drop your seeds. Drop your seeds. And remember, you only could win if you follow the rules. And everyone know the rules. The rules were stated on the community page months ahead. Months ahead. I even did live promoting the rules. So follow the rules because you only can win if you follow the rules. It doesn't matter how beautiful your herbs looking. It doesn't matter. Your herbs could look the best out of everyone. Once you ain't follow the rules, you cannot win. And this was very clear from the get-go. You cannot win if you did not follow the rules. All right? So yes, guys, I want to say, man, thank you guys for coming out tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Fifi Urban Homestead and Lifestyle. Thank you, Urban Garden Chronicles. Thank you, Tyler. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you guys for coming out tonight, man. I appreciate you guys. And you know me, I'll be going live from time to time. I'll be doing pop-up from time to time. And you know what? Tomorrow, I think I will be going live tomorrow from my garden tomorrow. I think I'm gonna be hitting a live direct from my garden tomorrow, showing the update because there's a lot going on right now. In the garden is a lot of new growth. Is a lot of my grapes them already start producing, pushing out, flowers, getting ready for push out flowers. Apple trees. Some of my apple trees have apples already. Plum. My plum trees have plum. My peach have peach. My peach tree them pushing out peach already. Nice size peach too. So I'm gonna be doing a tour tomorrow, giving you guys the update. So because I already show you guys how I take care of them, I plant them, show you how I take care of them. Now I'm gonna be showing the progress of what's actually going on. I have some broccoli over there. I have some not collard greens, cauliflower, and they're doing really well right now. They're doing wonderful. I have bell peppers that already start pushing out small peppers already, flowers and small peppers. The Edos coming up out the ground, the Dashing coming up out the ground, the Tanya coming up out the ground. Well, I know transplant some yam, so their leaf, they're pushing out new leaf, fresh leaf, but they're showing progress. They're showing progress, they're showing life. I have a few cassava. Can't wait to see these cassava jump up. They're showing life already. You know, my blueberry, man, my blueberry tree have on so much blueberry fruits. I'm telling you. Last year I was to cover it. This year I'm definitely, I mean, I love the buds them, but I need to have some nice ripe berries, you know, like some handful of berries. So I'm gonna do that I can get some, and then I'm gonna remove it and leave some for the buds. But I need some this year because it's so much. It's so much. The tree is pasted with blueberries. So I have to protect them. I didn't buy I was to buy a rag, the cover last year, but I'm surely gonna buy the cover this year. So I can able to get cover half. Right, that's a good idea. Cover half and leave half for the boards them. I think that's a good idea. I hope they ain't get mad with me. But I need to do that. But yes, guys, as always, man, thank you guys for coming out. You know, we always try to keep it positive over here. You know, we always try to motivate and uplift people. You know, we always try to show people how we do our thing from step to stage to stage. You know what I'm saying? Follow, listen to me. There's a lot of people out there who actually showing how to survive. Wait, let me see if that boy ain't getting no. That boy, listen to me. If I ain't give them board none, them boy might get mad with me and start to leave them warm for eat on my garden, boy. so, so I gotta leave some, boy. I'm telling you. They do well in my garden, so I can't mess up, you know. I can't mess up. But I will be covering half because I mean it's so much. And then sometimes too, well that happens sometimes. When you you know you're leaving it for the board eating out the ripe one. So when you go, you just get a few. I'm trying to get a nice harvest today. Is enough for me and them boards. Is enough for me and them. So I'm gonna cover half and leave half for them. I think that's a good idea because I'm not trying for them to get mad. Next thing they go somewhere else, and next thing them worms start to eat on my collard greens and my broccoli, and you know, so I gotta treat them nice. Yeah, guys. So thank you guys for coming out, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna see you guys. You guys go tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow about noon because I will be coming directly from my garden tomorrow, showing you guys the update. I did a job on my plum tree, and I was where I tied the stone on the limbs. I want to show you guys the progress with that too because now the limbs them actually I'm not gonna remove the stone. I'm gonna keep them a little longer. But the limb them that was going way up in the sky is actually, if I remove the stone, they actually bend over now. So what I did actually work, but I can't take the credit for that. I got to take the credit from someone else. I saw someone doing it and I did it, and it's actually working because this plant was like the plant was like about 18 feet tall. I'm telling you. So all them limbs that was pushing to the top, just pushing up, I bend them. And now when you remove the stone, they actually stay in like that, which is cool. But I'm gonna leave the stone for a little longer. So yes, it actually works, and this is what I'm saying. We all can learn from each other. Just be humble, humble ourselves, and we could learn from each other. All right? You guys have a blessed and wonderful night. Thank you guys for coming out as always. Peace, love, and blessing to each and every one of you. Just stay positive, be positive, and don't be late. Just be great. All right? Thank you guys. Good night. All right, Fifi, about good night. All right, Mike, good night. All right, take care, guys. All right, good night.